Hi, good morning. I'm Victoria, and this is episode 2 of Behind the Ranks. I actually have Michelle on the phone with us today, and I have my best friend ever since the 3rd grade. Actually, she's here in the studio, and so this is Ira, and Michelle, you're on the phone. Say hi.
Hi, guys.
Yeah. So this is my best friend, Ira. Say
hi.
Hi. Yeah, so a few things to talk about today. Man, we've struggled a lot with what we're going to talk about because we could talk about a million things because me and Ira have known each other since the 3rd grade. So she was also a military spouse. We actually, her husband introduced me to my husband, which is really cool. And her husband ended up getting discharged from the military. So she was a military spouse for
10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah. It's a long time. But he got discharged. So we did think about talking about like how that process went, what being discharged was like, especially if your plan is to do the full 20 and you're like, oh my gosh, now what? Anyway, so Michelle, this is my best friend, Ira. Sorry, you guys have never met in person, but she's super cool. And I just thought we still need to have maybe you on the show because you have no idea, you don't know Ira at all. You have no idea of her background story. I've never even told you, I don't think, anything about Ira.
No.
So I thought, oh, what a cool perspective, you could ask questions, you might be really interested in like what she did, or you might even know somebody who might be walking in her shoes or something like that. And I thought,
right. Well,
that would be kind of cool. Well, Ira, maybe just give us some background so the audience knows a little bit about you more than what I said.
Okay. This was really nervous to talk about. So my husband and I have been together for about, 16 years now. And he was in the military for 10 years. We were stationed in Travis for a long time. And then we finally got stationed in Lackland Air Force Base, San Antonio. And
where your family is also.
Yes, both of our families.
Yeah.
So I think the most difficult thing is you kind of, when you're around, I don't even know how to say it. When you're around your friends and your family, you learn different things. And, this is 100% honesty right here. When my husband and I first met, we were in high school. And so my husband did weed back then. And then when I had our son, he joined the military and he stopped. But then when we moved to San Antonio, I'm not really sure, just I guess being around his family, his brother and his sister did it. So he actually got back involved.
Yeah, I guess you get kind of roped back into it if you're not careful, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and so he did that. And because I was around my family, I couldn't tell that he was doing it. Like, which is weird. I think a lot of people are going to be like, how did you not know? And for me, I'm not 100% sure if I did want to know because I knew, in the military, it's 100%.
Yeah.
They don't accept that. So what was it? 5 years ago, we went on vacation. And then when we came back in January, he got tested and he got tested positive for weed.
It was like a random test.
Yeah, it was a random test. And he got tested positive for weed. And I remember exactly where I was. I had just finished the gym and I was going to, I just finished going to church. And then I went to the gym and I got the phone call saying, I'm in security forces right now. I've tested positive and I don't know what's going to happen. And I kid you not, like, because my family was there, you kind of go in a daze. Like, you don't know what you're doing. And luckily, both my children, they were in school at that time. Yeah, they were in school. So I went to my mom's. I broke down. And then it's just kind of the first few days of that I'm not sure if anyone has, and I would never want anyone to go through this, but the first few days, everyone is kind of like in a daze because you're tested positive, but it doesn't come right away.
Yeah.
Everything doesn't kind of come. They just kind of, what did they do with him? He met his commander, and then that night he kind of stayed home, and it was hard to talk about. It was kind of one of those things that I don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't really want to talk about it. So
Yeah.
let's just not say anything. And then, the first few days he didn't go to work because they were still kind of seeing what they needed to do. But the third day he had to go into work to test again. They made him test again, and he tested negative. But again, it was one of those, weed doesn't stay in your system that long. So,
Oh boy.
yeah. So then after that, he met again. He had like a panel that he met with. And it was the hardest thing. I think it humbled both of us because he had to get, what are those called? The personal,
Like a lawyer?
we had to get a lawyer. He had to get the JAG lawyer, but he had to call some of his friends that are military.
Oh, like references.
Like personal letters saying he's a good guy,
Oh, yeah.
And that I think was really hard to see him having to do that. And, all of the spouses are going to call me and say, what happened? And that's the part that's hard because you're kind of like, I don't know. What do you say? Except he got caught and kind of can't do anything. You can't,
Yeah, we're just like waiting on like, what's the next step? Or I don't know if he's going to get out. I don't,
Right.
Like we think.
So, yeah. So it was hard because what sucks is even if you do some type of drug, you can still be an amazing person. And a lot of the people that he was around, like his commanders, they were all really surprised. They were all like, what? Wait, because he was it's not a TI. He was
MTL.
He was an MTL. Yeah. And so they were all surprised at like, whoa, why are you testing positive for this when you're helping students? So that was hard for him. And, I think after that, give it about 2 weeks later, his commander said, like, I think we got saved because they didn't kick him out dishonorable. They gave him honorable discharge, and I think that helped us a lot. But like they told him that day, but it took about 3-4 months before he really got
Like
officially out because he still had to out process, and that still takes a minute.
Yeah.
But he got kicked out, and
So like when he got out, that's when it like hit you? Like,
yeah, I think that whole time it was happening because he was still in the military. It was very like, just like I felt like I was still in my days.
Yeah.
My mom was in the military, so that's all I knew.
Yeah.
So to be like, oh my God, we're not going to be in the military anymore, it really did freak me out.
Yeah.
And it didn't hit me until he got out. Like officially, he didn't wake up in the morning. He didn't wear his uniform anymore. It was kind of like, oh my God, this is it. And I was in school. I wasn't working. So it was kind of one of those, you need to work right now. Like you got
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Because we always had the plan of he's going to retire and we're good, and the military sets you up to be taken care of. And I think we took that for granted because now, my gosh, medical bills, it's not a joke versus in the military.
Like, you better not get sick.
Right.
I can't even imagine.
Right. You don't see
Emergency
that.
room. I don't know. I think a Band-Aid will fix that.
Right. I think back in the day, I would always want to be like, let's go to emergency room right now,
Yeah.
because you could do that. Now it's like, do we really need to go to the emergency room?
I got co-pays now.
Right. I was like, oh, that hurts, And so I will be honest, there was a point where I really lost myself. I felt like even my mom was kind of like, who are you? Because I was so angry, because you kind of you expect that person to kind of take care of you. And it was like, it was like a wake up call, I guess you could say. So that was really, really, really tough for me. And then I think even now we're still mending from that. Because for me, I felt like...
Because then you got a job.
Yes.
And then another job.
Yes, I worked 3 jobs.
Another job.
Yeah, I worked 3 jobs. I had no days off. There were like Monday through Sunday.
Yeah.
And
so it like shifted. Like
Yeah.
you ended up like providing.
Yes. But for me, it was kind of like, as much as I was angry, I had to also think, all right, he was in the military, you know, he was deployed some of those times.
Yeah.
He had to step up for us. So it's kind of like, all right, let me step up. Now, definitely I didn't want to step up in that certain situation because of how he got out.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I was so angry for so long, because I felt like you picked a drug over your kids. It wasn't necessarily me, because I knew me, I could bounce back from it, but I was like, hey, like our kids, that was the part that was really, really tough for me. So
yeah. I don't know.
So yeah.
Michelle, do you have any questions? Like,
I do. I have a couple questions for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
How has like post-military life affected like your husband's possibility of getting another job or finding another career? Like, is he ambitious? Is he motivated to do something, or is it kind of put like I don't want to say a damper on things, but kind of just made like a reevaluation time?
When he first got out, I mean, to be honest, he was kind of like unmotivated, upset, like as if he shouldn't have gotten caught, I feel like. Mm-hmm. But for a year, he went to school for truck driving because he thought that's what he wanted to do. And then he actually, well, I never said this, but his first few years in the military, he worked on airplanes. He was a jet mechanic. Yeah. So a couple years, last year, he went back to school for jet mechanic, and now he works as a jet mechanic for one of the places in San Antonio. I'm not sure the name.
I don't remember either.
But yeah, no.
Like Lockheed, like.
Oh, no. It's in the airport. He works in the airport area, but he fixes planes now. So he's working again.
Like doing the civilian thing.
Yes.
Like, same thing that he did for years in the Air Force, but now civilian. But I guess I don't know. I wonder, I mean, because like the Air Force just kind of, it does give you direction, and it's like, here, this is your job. And he's like, okay, I'm going to do this job. So it's like, maybe when he got out and he was like, wait, you mean I need to just figure out on my own what I got to do? And he was like, well, shoot, I don't even know. What do I want to do? Yeah. And so he's like, maybe I'll try truck driving. Maybe I'll try a stay-home dad thing for a little bit. Maybe I'll, like, you know, I don't know. Maybe it took him like a hot minute.
And it was hard because I was like, truck driving? Yeah. I was like,
where did that come from?
And not to knock on anyone that's a truck driver, because that's a hard job. But I had never heard him say, I want to be
cool.
I want to be a truck driver.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never heard you say any of that. So
like, where'd that come from?
But I always thought he was an amazing jet mechanic. So it was surprising when he first got out that he was like, I'm not doing it. I don't want to, because we had discussed it. Why don't you do, jet mechanic? And he was like, nope, I don't want to do it. Truck driving is my thing. And I was like, okay, that's what you want to do.
And then he did truck driving for like how long?
A year.
Yeah.
A year.
And then he decided no.
He said nope. And then he went to school full time. And he actually graduated in March, but because of COVID, he didn't work for 5 months.
Oh, yeah.
And so he graduated, and then he couldn't get a job. So that's when he did the stay at home.
He's like, I'll be a stay home dad for a little bit.
He did that while I worked.
Yeah. Oh, man. Do you have another question, Michelle?
Well, I do, yeah. But thank you. That's really great that he at least tried something else before kind of going back to what he knew and felt comfortable with.
Right.
I think that takes a lot of boldness to be that brave to try out something new after being in the military for so long and kind of having like that ball drop, and then it's like, what do you do? Like Victoria said, like we're so used to just being told what to do, like all the time, where to move. Yeah. Where to work, the whole lifestyle is already planned out for us. So that's definitely like a big eye-opening experience. My other question is more so along the lines of like a recommendation. So you said he went back to school. Did he pursue any kind of schooling while he was in the military? And if he did not, would you recommend like new spouses or new airmen to try to focus on that maybe earlier in their career versus, I know a lot of them, at least in my situation, a lot of them wait till kind of like the tail end of it. And they're like, maybe I should have a backup plan kind of thing.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
He did a lot of his schooling in the middle, but I definitely think for any spouse out there right now, push your spouse to go to school at the very beginning. I know it's hard when they're airmen, but it gets harder because they get more responsibilities being a tech sergeant and a staff sergeant. So I think definitely when they don't have all those responsibilities, I think adding that school is going to, you know, train them and make them better. I really think schooling is better at the forefront than wait till later, because luckily for him, he finished, because he did MTL for 4 years. So he started going back to school the second year of being in MTL. So, I mean, he was going to school, but it was kind of like, it was really hard for him because he had all his airmen to take care of. Yeah. He was working 12-hour shifts most of the time. And then when he was home, we had 2 grown kids already. So they always, they were in sports and stuff like that. So he had those things to do as well. So I definitely think when you first start out, if you don't have a lot of children, to kind of just get that out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that. My husband and I both worked on our college degree, like right out of the bat. We got married right out of high school, and he enlisted. And we did like a couple years, and then we started having kids. And then it was just like, okay, we're not going to go back to school right now with everything else going on. And 10 years later, we both went back and thankfully finished and both have our bachelor's degrees now and hope or plan to do more. But looking back, it's like, oh, you know, thinking of your story, like what if we would have got out at 10 years? You know, now it's, you know, 16 years in, and no, we're not planning to get out anytime soon. But at least now we kind of have like that backup plan or that cushion that we know that we can hopefully use and fall back on in time.
Yeah, I agree. I 100%. It's very difficult. I've always wanted to tell, you know, spouses, because I was a stay-at-home spouse for a while there. I mean, definitely it sucks, but you want to plan for the worst just in case, because you don't want to fall, because sometimes people, when they fall, it's hard to pick up. And for me, it took a minute before I could finally catch myself and be like, all right, time to wake up, you need to snap out of this and start working and doing what you need to do to take care of your whole family, you know? And sometimes it's really hard. Yeah. When you don't, and if you don't have a support system, you really want to make sure you have that, like you have a backup. Yeah. For you and your spouse, you know.
And I will add, like, you went to school for nursing.
I did.
And that wasn't your jobs, you know, like you had to figure out a way, you know, to like get jobs, you know, even though you went to school for nursing and stuff like that, like, wow, you know, like that's not part of the plan at all.
I had to say, okay, as much as I wanted to study at that time, for me, it was like, I study, but I don't have food for my kids. So it was kind of like, all right, I'm gonna put that in the back burner. I'll study when I can. But one job turned into 3 jobs. So it was kind of like, I don't have time to study. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep when I have the time. So I definitely think,
you're like, I have to figure out how to like make money, exercise, and make food and clean the house and do all these things and work 3 jobs.
I'm really glad my kids though, like, I know I was telling Vicky this morning, when Tony and I first got together to now, we are way better off.
Like financially,
because when we got together, I had my child at 17 and we got married when I was 17. Yeah. So we were young, and it's not easy being an airman in the military and then no family around, and you have a newborn and it's just you two, and you know, and I love my family, but I wasn't taught savings or, you know, I wasn't taught those things. I didn't, you know, so it was very like, this is new to be on your own. Yeah. And then you're kind of like, we're getting money.
Paycheck to paycheck.
Yes.
It was like, you know, like we have a car payment that's like half our paycheck.
Gosh. And then like, daycare back then was crazy. I was like, I don't want to, you know, and I understand why so many people just stay home. It's a lot cheaper than paying for daycare. And in California, it's very expensive. Yeah. So
very hard. Yeah.
Well, I applaud you for all of that. That's awesome that you were able to like recognize and realize what you had to do in order to put your family first. But you didn't give up. Like you never, you know, threw in the towel. Like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to get another job. We're going to, you know, make it work. Because that's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. And I had someone ask me like 5 years ago, you know, what would you do if Brett wasn't in the military? And I'm like, I had no answer. I was like completely speechless. Like, I have no idea what we would do without this lifestyle right now. I mean,
Yeah.
probably should figure it out soon. Oh, we kind of have an idea now, but 5 years ago, even,
Right. Yeah.
no, we were like, I don't know.
I think you're right. If you're at the 16-year mark, you're kind of like, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. We do need to like start thinking about this,
Right.
you know, like, but yeah, like if it was like an abrupt thing, it was like, I don't know, like maybe an injury happened, you know, like it could be anything, you know, really. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that's like, you know, illegal.
Yeah, right.
Like, but like, you know, I mean, these kind of things, I don't know. And like, oh, I can't even think. Well, now I need to start thinking about. You know?
I definitely miss the military just
Yeah.
because my mom was in it, and then, you know, my husband was in it. There's a different culture with your friends that are in the military. You know, that aspect of it. Being in the civilian side, it's weird. You know, when people are like, oh, you know, you're military before, and it's like, yeah, my husband was military, and it's just
they
don't get it, you know. And it's weird, it's hard.
Maybe you can't have those like conversations, you know, like they don't know what it's like. You know?
It's like, I don't know how you could. I love the line of, I don't know how you can do it if you're like when your husband's deployed. It's like, it's not, I don't know how you can do it. It's, you have to do it. Like, you choose to be with your spouse. You both did the military. You kind of have to. You have to take that in. You know, you have to be ready for that. Because that's part of his job, you know? Yeah. And so it's one of those, but I definitely miss the military. There's times where I'm like, maybe I can still join. I was like, I can do officer. Yeah. And I was like, but I do miss that. And I wish my kids are still part of that, but it's a lesson that, you know, we learned. And I hope, you know, for anyone out there that is listening, you know, they learn and take something from this. I mean, you know.
I hope so too.
What would you say would be like your best advice of transition? Like for anybody, whether they're getting out after their first like 4 or 6 years, or if it's 10 or even coming up on the 20-year mark, what would you share that would make the transition easier for them?
I definitely think before you get out, like you and your spouse should communicate what both your dreams are. I think that's really important to kind of, so that no one is like, well, you know, I don't want you to do that. I definitely think telling each other, this is kind of what I want to try when I get out, and then you both,
or even while you're in,
you know, supporting each other. I think that's the hardest part, is to actually, it's one thing to say it to your spouse, but it's another to be like, all right, let's make it happen. Let's support, let's push each other forward into doing that goal that you want to do, or my goal. Like, because as a spouse, you kind of, I'll be honest, I think a lot of spouses put their dreams on the back burner to support the spouse that's in the military. Yeah. So I think it would be nice if you both are kind of like, well, I'd also like to try this when you get out. I think you should push each other instead of just one or the other. Yeah. That was one thing I think.
And maybe even like using the resources in the military like to their fullest.
Yes.
You know?
Because I feel like there's so many that's not being used. Yeah. It's a lot.
I mean, did you guys use like the GI Bill and stuff like that? Like,
Yes. Like, okay. Tony did. I did not. But Tony used it for school.
At least one of you did.
Yes. Tony used it for school. So
that's good.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like not using, you know, like the resources. But I mean, like, I don't know, maybe those who are like, there's some people who go into the military and they know they're only going to do 4 or 6 years, you know, but they still need to like really research all the benefits. Yeah. And they need to like really like, my husband likes to say, make the Air Force work for you, you know, and I don't know where he grabbed that, or like when, you know, I was like, I don't think he learned that until after year 8 or something, but you know, but I think, you know, now he says that he tries to tell all the airmen, like, you know what, fine. You want to get out and you want to like own a restaurant. Like, that's great. But here's like what I was like, but you're a jet mechanic right now. Okay. You know, like, you know, here's, like
the steps and how the military can help you. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Man.
I like that advice. Good job, Corey.
I know. Yeah. Make the Air Force work for you. Right. Yeah, I know. Sorry.
I like that.
I know, but it can be hard, you know, because you think, oh, like I have a job in the military, this and that. But like, you know, you gotta. I mean, obviously, it's temporary. Like the Air Force, you know, any military. I don't know. It's gonna be temporary. You know. Yeah. Anyway, gosh, was there something else you wanted to share, Ira?
Oh gosh, I think
I
that
know.
was like my big thing.
I thought we were going to talk like, I don't know. I thought it was going to take forever to talk about this, and I was like,
Well, yeah, I didn't want to go into detail on this day.
we're going to come back. Goodness.
I mean, because I think we wanted to really share this just because in Vegas and in California, weed is
like
legal.
technically legal, right?
Yes, but not for military and for
Right.
government. For government jobs, it's not legal.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those.
It's like, don't get wrapped up in it. I think something else, like, I don't know. I've also known like being in the military, you're kind of like, you're in a different breed, you know what I'm saying? And so when you do move back with like your friends and family, sometimes people want to be close to home, right? And I get that. You want to be close to your family. You think your family's, going to help you out with your kids or, whatever. I mean, it's nice to be close to your family.
Right.
Let's be honest,
Right.
But sometimes they have like these bad habits and things like that, and you'll get wrapped up in it, and you just have to be careful,
Right.
And like my mom used to say, like, are you going to soar with eagles or are you going to be sitting with pigeons? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you have to figure out where you're going to be, and you have to be careful about who your crowd's going to be. So if you go back home and you start hanging out with those old friends from high school, like, what are your friends from high school doing? Are they like, like being entrepreneurs? Are they like, doing good jobs and this and that? Or did they like are they still doing partying? Are they still doing things that are going to get you in trouble? Are they, financially stable? Are you,
Right.
like all these things, like you have to watch out.
Yeah.
So it's maybe not always best
Yeah.
to move back with your family. But if you do move back with your family, maybe another lesson is just like really trying to like guard yourself, like be on the same page as far as like your career and be like, look, maybe that's, I don't know. I guess your husband.
I don't know. One thing I do want to say, I know a lot of people out there, like, they're doing something wrong, but I feel like people are scared to ask for help.
Oh yeah.
And I really think because they're scared to get in trouble. I know one of the commanders had told my husband, I wish you had asked for help or before this happened. So, I mean, like, yes, it's zero tolerance, but I think a lot of people don't understand, if you ask for help, you will get the help. And, like, it's so much better to do that than to kind of just keep doing it and feel whatever you're feeling. Because, in any type of drug that you do, you're doing it for a reason. You're not just doing it, and like, there's something like pain, sadness, depression, like, find that help so that you can, be better. Like, so I think if you know someone that's going through it and they are in the military or, you are that person, I definitely think you should go to your first shirt or your commander and ask for that help because they are going to help you. They don't hear a lot about it until it's too late because you didn't ask for it sooner. I think that's one of my things.
That's
I
huge.
hope that everyone, like, it's scary, because you're like, oh God, I know I'm not supposed to be doing this, but it's like, there's always a reason behind you doing something,
right? Are you doing it, like, was it just a one-time thing? Or,
Right.
But if you're like trying to use it regularly,
Yes.
or, whatever, I mean, and I know here in Vegas, there's a lot of people who struggle even with gambling and stuff like that. Like, you ask for help before you're like $20,000 in debt.
And you're in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it's hard for your, like, what is it? It's hard for everyone around you that's associated with you because it's like, hey, you should have told us. Like, we could have helped you. So, and I mean, in the military, you're family, so, I mean, it's hard and I get it. Like, sometimes you just kind of want to keep it inside and just not tell anyone or keep it between you and your spouse. But sometimes you have to ask for that help because it's better to ask for it. Like, I promise you, it is better to ask for it before you get to the point where you can't
before you
ask
get
for
caught.
it.
Actually, like, I mean, because now you're caught. And then it was like, well,
it's too late now.
Yeah.
So,
oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Any thoughts, Michelle? Or are we good to maybe wrap up?
Yeah, I don't think so. Thank you for sharing all that and the advice. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who have been in your shoes, maybe aren't as open about it. And hopefully this will, strike a chord with them and they can find comfort in knowing that they're not alone with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too.
Yes.
I think that's huge. Well, then we will just wrap this up.
Thank you.
Yeah, this
Nice
was
talking
awesome.
to you.
I know. Yeah,
You
maybe.
too.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk more, Michelle. Like, you know.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for giving me a call this morning.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad. I know. All right. Well then, we'll do our exit. You know, give you some nice music, some warm fuzzies. Gosh, thank you so much for listening, everybody. So I'm Victoria, my friend Ira.
Ira.
And I'm
All right. Well, thank you so much. And this is Behind the Ranks.